Cool. And while Stephanie's doing that, I'll just introduce Stephanie's presentation. So this is based on an Education Horizon grant that was awarded early this year. So Stephanie led a bid that was successful, which is a real testimony to your innovation, Steph, and sense of what needs to be questioned at this point. Her project is on supporting mathematics outcomes, what strategies to work to support the word-based mathematical problem solving of autistic students in the classroom. So it sounds very intricate in a way, but it's a very down-to-earth, vital area. So I'm really looking forward to hearing how it's panning out, Steph.
Thank you. I am having some technological difficulties because I wrote it on a different computer this morning, so I'm having to re-download it onto this computer. So it will be with us in a second.
Sure.
Don't you love technology? There we go. It's loading now. Okay. Apparently, it's just working out a few details, so they should be there in a second.
We've got it.
You've got it. There we go. You got it before me. Okay, so hi everyone. I'm Stephanie, and today I'll just be going through the background to the project that we're doing for the Education Horizon grant. So when putting together the team, I tried to make sure that it was multidisciplinary, because this particular topic, although it's looking at numeracy, actually requires knowledge of lots of different areas. So I'm in there as a person who has expertise in understanding autism and mathematics. Nicole Dargue, who's currently on maternity leave, she is there with expertise in eye tracking and autism. Marleen has knowledge of reading and autism. Jess is reading and autism too. And Kym is our maths teacher who has expertise in qualitative research. So throughout the whole team, we had all the skills that were necessary to do all aspects of the project. Today, I am only going to be talking about the child-based aspect, and there is an additional part where we're going to be speaking to teachers about their understanding and their perspectives, but I haven't gone into detail on that today. I've just focused purely on the child aspects. So the title of the grant is Supporting Mathematics Outcomes. So what strategies work to support word-based mathematical problem solving of autistic children in the classroom? Now, as I'm sure you are all aware, numeracy is a critical part of early education, and it's been integrated within the core school curriculum in Australia, but also around the world. Now, how children perform in mathematics at school is really critical because it has a lot of lifelong impacts. So it impacts your employment opportunities, it impacts your financial opportunities, career, lots of different things in the long term. So it's obvious why it's very important. Now, within Australia, NAPLAN assesses children in their numeracy skills in years 3, years 5, year 7, and year 9. Now, when looking at mathematics, particularly in the year 3 and year 5, many of the questions are written in a word problem format, just like the examples you can see on the right-hand side of the screen. Now, those there have been taken from example papers from NAPLAN, so they are authentic NAPLAN numeracy questions. So you have the first one. Paul has 6 10-cent coins in his hands. How much money does Paul have in his hands altogether? 33, 16, 60, or 50. And then we have the second one. So a roller coaster has 6 cars. Each car has 3 people in it. How many people are on the roller coaster altogether? So you can see there that to access the mathematics and to answer the questions, you also need to read the problem surrounding it. Now, researchers specifically looked at the long-term impact of performance in these word problems, and it's found that it's associated with lots of life outcomes as well, just like general mathematics. So it's predictive of poorer social, financial, and health life outcomes, illustrating just how important it is. But beyond that, NAPLAN uses these questions to assess children's numeracy. And so we need to understand if these particular question formats are appropriate for all children. If they're not, what can we do to better support children in addressing questions that are written in this way? So mathematical word problems, they are known to be one of the most difficult and complex problems that are delivered to children within numeracy in primary education. They require lots and lots of different skills. It's not just about your ability to do mathematics. Just in that one example that I've just copied into the corner there, you need to understand how to read number. So you need to know that that digit there, 6, means 6, 3 means 3, and so on. You need to be able to read the individual words, so a, roller, coaster. So already we're seeing how children's reading ability is being implicated in their ability to demonstrate numeracy skills. We then have reading comprehension. So beyond being able to read the individual word, the children need to understand what that language is communicating. And then we have executive function skills as well. So in order to be able to answer this question, you need to have good working memory. So working memory is the ability to hold information in mind while you're using it. This is often used in any sort of mathematics. So it's the idea that you have to keep in mind there are 6 cars, there are 3 people in each of them, and then manipulate those numbers in mind in order to be able to answer the question. So working memory is integral there, and also planning. So children need to understand, well, what do I have to tackle first here? What do I need to extract from this to be able to answer the question? So you can see that there are many, many skills that are implicated in answering these apparent maths questions that are actually beyond children's mathematics ability. So obviously I'm from the Autism Centre, so my particular area of interest is autism. So I was thinking, well, how did autistic children perform on these tasks? So we know, generally speaking, that autistic children are 4 times more likely than their non-autistic peers to experience difficulties in mathematics. And we know that this is the case even after we control for general cognitive ability. So it suggests it's not the general intelligence of the children. There is something specific about mathematics that is causing challenges for autistic children. When you read through the literature, there's not all that much that is out there at the moment, but typically it seems like it's these word problems that seem to be the most challenging. And there are potentially many reasons for that. As I just went through, there's executive function that's required, and we know that executive function differences are quite common in autism, but also there's that reading comprehension element. Now, we know from conducting research that autistic children, while their ability to read the individual words is the same as their non-autistic peers, their ability to comprehend what those words are telling them is actually at a lower level than their non-autistic peers. So that is putting them on the back foot when it comes to demonstrating their numeracy skills in this way in NAPLAN, because it's not just testing their numeracy ability, it's testing their ability to extract information from worded text. So it's that reading comprehension that could be a challenge. Now, that has been emphasized by teachers that I've spoken to. So a couple of years ago, I was awarded an AEL grant to speak with teachers about their perspectives of why mathematics can be challenging for autistic children. And in asking just general questions, what's challenging? Many of them said it's the word problems. They find the reading comprehension aspect of it really hard. And so they've put a lot of different strategies in place to try and disambiguate what exactly that word problem is asking. So teachers could themselves have used pointing. So they've sat next to the child and they've pointed to each individual word to highlight what they're reading. And then they've also encouraged children to highlight the key words in some way, whether that's literally with a highlighter, whether it's circling it, whether it's writing underneath the key things that they need to keep in mind. So these are all strategies that teachers have anecdotally told us have worked. But in order to be able to really promote these as strategies, it's important to have an evidence base behind that. So that's exactly what we were looking at in this particular study. But first, eye tracking is an ideal methodology to be able to do this. So eye tracking can provide us insight into how these forms of mathematics problems are processed. So to date, no one's really looked at how children are reading these word problems. In order to answer them correctly, you would expect that people would pay more attention to the numbers and that mathematical function that they're being asked to do with that particular problem. But no one's really looked at it. So eye tracking provides us an opportunity to actually look at how these are processed, allowing us to understand if there's any particular strategies that might support children. So by doing this, we can look at whether highlighting, pointing, and other strategies actually help children in their processing of those word problems. So this project had a couple of research questions. We were interested in how children attend to this problem. So do autistic children read the problems in the same way as non-autistic children? So is it that one group pays more attention to the number words than the other? Is it that there's a different speed? Who knows? We have no idea. No one's looked at it. I just want to underscore that we aren't looking here at the mathematical differences between autistic and non-autistic children. We're looking at the strategy and the process that they use. So it doesn't matter if one group is better or worse at mathematics. We are looking at whether the strategy and the process is different, because if it is, then we can support more differentiated learning within the classroom. So then the second question was, which strategies can support children's problem solving? So we have a couple of different strategies that have been informed by some of the literature that I've just spoken about. And then we're going to look to see if some of those strategies are more or less effective at supporting mathematics for those two groups, and if there's any differences between the groups on which strategy is the most effective. So the method. Oh, hang on. Oh, yeah, okay. I'd never used animation in Teams before, but it all works. I'm happy. So for the method, we have 82 children that are in grade 3. So we chose this because this is a NAPLAN year, but it also is a year where children are developing more independent reading skills. And so the language isn't necessarily going to be challenging to read for the children. And then we're going to present word problems to the children via a computer. Now, when children are reading these problems, there will be an eye tracker that's positioned much like a webcam on the top of the computer. So that's literally just monitoring the eye gaze of the children so it can see which aspects of that problem the children are spending more time looking at. So the three conditions are the control condition. So children will be presented with 10 control questions, or 10 questions in the control condition. So a roller coaster has 6 cars. Each car has 3 people in it. How many people are on the roller coaster altogether? So they'll have 10 problems of a level of difficulty appropriate for their age, and they'll be asked to provide the answers. There will be a keywords highlighted condition. So there'll be 10 more questions where children will read the question and provide the answer, but the keywords will be highlighted. We then have one where the children are encouraged to point to the words, particularly the key ones, to help emphasize to them which ones are more critical in answering the question. And then we'll have a read aloud condition. So this is where the computer or the research assistant will read aloud the question that's on the screen. So that basically mimics one of the supports that they have in place for children within NAPLAN already. So the idea that you can have someone available to read the question to you. So there are 4 sets of the 10 questions, so 10 questions for each of the conditions, and they're going to be matched for problem type and difficulty. So basically that allows us to make direct comparisons across those different conditions and the performance across them. But they're going to be counterbalanced. So for example, problem set A for 25% of the time will be shown in the control condition. Problem set A will then be shown 25% of the time in the second condition, and so on. So that just makes sure that it's not an impact of the actual questions, because they're going to be scattered across all of those conditions as time goes on. So in order to understand the children that we're working with, which allows us to then be able to better understand how generalizable our results are, we're also going to collect data on the kids' mathematics, reading and receptive language using the Wyatt, and then also the K-bit. So the K-bit allows us to look at cognitive ability. As I said, we are not directly comparing the children's reading or maths or anything. That is purely there so we can describe the kids that we're working with. So once it is published, or once we disseminate those findings, everyone's going to be more aware of whether the data we've collected is generalizable to their specific context. As this is an Education Horizon grant, we're looking at disseminating it in lots of different ways. I mentioned earlier that we do have a teacher part of the study. in part of that, we're going to be asking teachers, what do you find is the most useful way to disseminate these findings? So if it's anything more than what we'd already planned, then we can do that as well to make sure that anything that we find actually can go to teachers as soon as possible in the way that's most accessible to them. But we're going to translate the research into practice through a live webinar. We've previously done this with other Education Horizon grants that we've been successful with, and we've had good feedback because it does get the information out to the people who need it or want it. An infographic, which again, we've had wonderful feedback on. They typically are printed out and put in staff rooms, and so they're available for everyone to see whenever they need to. And then a professional learning session. We'll obviously also publish in journal articles, and hopefully there'll be two, one from this part of the study and one from the teacher, and we'll submit to conferences as well. So, thank you. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Stephanie.
No.
Now, Stephanie, I have a couple of questions, but what we'll do is go through the group. AJ, you had your hand up, or were you clapping?
Sorry, Hodgie, I was trying to clap. Misfire there. Big claps for you, Steph. Thank you.
Thanks, AJ.
Well, it was worth a shot. Okay, well, while we're waiting for people to think of questions, Stephanie, I'm wondering about whether recruitment is presenting any particular challenges.
So, to be honest, we're not as far forward as we wanted to be with the project, and people have gone on maternity leave and life has happened. So the recruitment is ongoing at the moment, but we'll advertise through the ACE social media, but also through schools as well. So we're hopeful, and the number that we'd suggested aligns with the numbers that we've got in other projects. And so I'm not anticipating that there'll be too many challenges.
Okay, and does that, will it communities that you've that you're part of?
Sorry, your speaker paused for a second there, so I didn't hear you.
So I'm aware that the ACE group is very well networked and works across a number of communities. Will you be leveraging those communities to as part of the recruitment?
So far we've just asked for ethical approval to put it onto the ACE Facebook page. So hopefully we'll get enough people through that. But also we're going to be working closely with Vicky Booth from the Autism Hub, and Vicky will speak with schools that she thinks would be interested. So that should hopefully help with the recruitment too.
Oh, very good. The Autism Hub in the department.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, very, very cool.
Sorry, I should have mentioned as well that this whole project was developed in consultation with them as well. So it's tackling a problem that they've identified within schools as well. And so, yeah, we work really closely with the Education Hub.
Right,
Autism
Hub. Okay. So Jen, then Tracy.
Thanks, Stephen, and thank you so much, Steph. That was really great to get a catch up on where things are at. It's so nice, you get awarded the grant, and it was, it's so exciting. And then, but these grants have to then be done, right?
Yes.
So and we do understand the complexities around doing the grant. Mm-hmm. It can be a wild ride. So hang on to your hat and reach out for help. But I wanted to ask you a question. I loved your research translation ideas in that last slide where you talked about what you're going to give to the teachers, the webinar, the infographic, the professional learning. So I'm interested in your idea about the infographic. So, these can be wonderful artifacts. They can look really amazing and they can be very powerful. But I'm just wondering what you're thinking will become of the infographic once it gets sort of disseminated. What might teachers do with it? Because I think this notion of research translation automatically leading to impact is not necessarily the case. So how can we start to think about these wonderful ideas for dissemination and translation actually then leading to some kind of impact? I know we can't have full control over that, but I'm just wondering what your thoughts are about what might become of the beautiful infographic that you produce.
So I kind of see it more as like a memory aid. So people would go to the professional learning session and they would hear about it there and be encouraged to try the strategies. Obviously, it's out of our hands if they do or don't, but we can explain the benefits of it, whether it worked, how people felt about it. And then the infographic would be there as a way to kind of jog their memory about, oh, this is how it was implemented. This is what I could do in the classroom. So it's rather than being a standalone piece of information, which could easily be forgotten about, it's approaching it from different angles to support learning and memory across all of them.
That sounds excellent. Wonderful. Thanks, Steph, and good luck with it all.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Tracy, then Ming-Yen.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for that, Steph. That was absolutely fantastic. And, you know, I'm a maths teacher. I'm just wondering about how transferable you anticipate this being to secondary, because I'm a high school maths teacher. So I'm just wondering, and I know like you're at the early stages. I know that. I want to know how your research can then be transferred somewhere else once it's finished. So do you anticipate that it will be transferable into that secondary space? So us as high school teachers, we've got strategies that are research backed and could potentially help our students.
Yeah, so to be honest, I'm not sure, because I know that the information at high school level is so much more complex. Now, we know that for autistic children, some of the things that are more challenging is the abstract nature of mathematics. So when you move into things like algebra and differentiation and all that kind of stuff, that comes with its own challenges beyond reading comprehension. So at the moment, we're focusing on the earlier years in school, because obviously that's providing that grounding to be able to then do the stuff in high school. Yep. But hopefully, ultimately, we could get another education horizon and look at the secondary school as well and see the differences there.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. And best of luck.
Thank you very much.
That's okay.
Ming-Yen.
Hello, thanks, me again. Thank you so much for that fantastic project. This question is coming from my pure interest. I have two school children who are fascinated in mathematics. So my question is, from my observation of my children learning how to solve mathematical problems, I noticed one of my, the younger one, he would read the visualization, the picture first. Then the text. While my old one, he would go to the text first, and then he may or may not need to see the pictures. So my question is, do you think this kind of a visualization, the provision of those pictures to help would be a helpful support or strategy to help children to understand the meaning for reading comprehension? Because I noticed you got those two little pictures at the earlier presentation of your slides, while in your method slide the picture is gone, right? So there's no picture there. So I'm wondering whether you control that condition or whether you consider that provision of visualization as a strategy or not. Thank you.
So in this particular study, we're not looking at visualization. However, I agree it would be a very useful element to look at as well. We know that some autistic children can have challenges with visualizing things that they're reading. And so having that picture there could then help clarify that. But also the problem with pictures, in my naive perspective, is that they can be quite misleading, because looking at that one there as an example, there's only one car with 3 people. So it's hard then to extrapolate that to then there being 6 cars, because the picture doesn't adequately demonstrate that. So we've kind of removed that potential confound. So they have to read the question to answer it, because it's the reading comprehension element that we're looking at this time.
Okay, thank you.
No worries.
Okay, thanks, Ming-Yen. Steph, I have a question that I'm supposing you might say it's one for Nicole, but with the eye tracking, the device that records the eye movements, does that, I assume that's from right to left and up and down, so that you're able to pinpoint which words
So the way it works is that you choose fields of interest on the screen. And so you could highlight each word as its own field of interest. And so then it literally monitors wherever the child's gaze goes. So it might go off the screen or to the top. It might go just to where the language is. And it looks at then how much time is spent on each of those fields of interest.
And the fields of interest are the word. Can that go down to the level of words?
Yeah, so we can choose that field of interest, so we can make it as big or small as we want. And so, yeah, we can do it as, at least this is my understanding, we can do it at each individual word level to be able to then see, well, how long do they spend on particular aspects of the paragraph, of the sentence. And to answer a question in the chat, we're using a Tobii eye tracker, which is one that goes on top of the computer screen, which means that it's more accessible for autistic children because you don't have those sensory challenges of having things on your face. It's just something that remotely looks at you. It also doesn't record the faces of the children. It just records the eye tracking. And so it removes that like anonymity concern as well.
Steph, following on from that, and you might not be able to answer that, I'm curious what reading comprehension looks like in terms of the way eyes move.
I can't answer that one, Stephen.
Yeah.
So it's more about your understanding of the questions and being able to answer it. But I suppose it's just looking at which aspects of the words that you're focusing on. Do you read everything to be able to understand what it all says? If you're missing words, if you're not spending an adequate amount of time on particular context, then your reading comprehension will be diminished.
Yeah, because I was looking at the text that's in front of us and I read it like a sentence, then definitely went back to 6 and 3. And I paused over that picture because I was thinking, are they joined together? What's that one card doing by itself? Has it broken loose from the others, etc.? Okay. Well, thanks for that. Jen has another question. And you're muted, Jen.
I actually have I can give you a 2-minute lesson in reading comprehension, Stephen. So when we read, there are 3 systems that we activate: the syntactic, the semantic, and the graphophonic. So syntactic means you're using your knowledge of grammar to read the sentence or the words. Semantic is you're trying to work out what the words mean in the context of that sentence. And graphophonic is you're using the letters and the combinations of the letters and the sounds that go with them to make meaning. So there's 3 systems happening simultaneously. That's a very quick version of the 3 cueing systems. And there are other things that are going on when you're reading to aid comprehension as well. So it's quite a complex system and process, but more on that later.
Yeah. So I was kind of thinking, do certain patterns of eye movement reveal something about what a person is comprehending?
So you could linger on the graphophonics, on the letters and the combinations of the letters. I wonder if you can drill down to that level in your specifications, Steph.
My mind had wandered and I was thinking about how to implement all of this. Can you repeat that?
So with say, for example, if you're using the graphophonic cueing system when you read, which means you look at letters and combinations of letters and what they sound like, graphophonic, squiggle on the page in relation to what they sound like. Can you drill down to that level of eye tracking, like looking at how long they linger on, say, the ing combination at the end of a word or other graphophonic elements?
So that's a Nicole question because she's our little eye tracking expert. But as far as I know, you can cut it down into smaller chunks. So yeah, we could have the question larger on the screen. So then we've got more space for each of those individual phonemes within the words.
Brilliant.
Okay, so we'll have to get Nicole.
But she's on maternity leave. We don't get her back for a year.
Okay, we'll have to be patient.
Yeah.
All right, folks, we're out of time. Thank you ever so much for coming along. Thanks, Steph. Thanks, Jen. A really stimulating way to spend our Friday. Thanks so much. Thanks for everyone.
Thanks
to everyone for coming along.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah. Bye-bye.